pénale internationale est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. Court officer, please call the case.
Situation in the Republic of Kenya in the case of the prosecutor versus William Samuel Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang, case number ICC 0109-0111, and we're in open session.
Thank you very much. Take it, appearances remain the same.
The same for the prosecution.
Defense, appearances remain the same.
They do.
Also for us, Mr. President.
The same, Yana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hooper, we are in the public session.
Yes.
You may continue your cross-examination. Witness, welcome back. We're now in public session, as you heard me say, and Mr. Hooper will continue asking you questions. I issue you the same reminder I've always done. You are under oath to tell the truth, and also please be sensitive to the need to protect your identity when we're in open session, as we are now. Thank you.
Your Honour, before I come to further question the witness, there's the issue of the exhibits yesterday, which have now been sorted out, I'm informed. I'm grateful to those who assisted in doing that. The first one is DO90023 0027. And the second, I say the second, in fact, the second has now been marked, and instead of the markings for the stadium and for Huruma grounds being on the same document, there are two separate documents, separately marked. And so could I ask for the first one, the one that shows Stadium 64, to be the first, as it were, of those two exhibits. The second, obviously, the Huron grounds. Thank you very much.
So the document Ken ICC 0001-0008 confidential document, which is an annotated version of document Ken D09-0023-0027, will bear a number EVD T D09-00071. The following document, which contains 2 pages, as explained before with 2 markings, will have the following numbers. So the document number is Ken ICC 0001-0009, first page, and the second page, Ken ICC 0001-0010, confidential document. It is an annotated version of document Ken D09-0023-0028, and will have the EVD number EVD T D09-0072.
Thank you. Colloquially, court officer, that means the last document would be Ruto Defense Exhibit 72.
Indeed, Your Honor. Ruto Defense Exhibit number 72.
And the first one would be colloquially known as the Ruto Defense Exhibit 71.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Ahopa, is there more? Is that it?
That's it, yes. There was a newspaper article that was put up. I'll come back to that and may add it at the end after we've had a discussion. There was a difficulty with that one, and I don't think it was resolved. Very well. Well, good morning, Mr. Witness.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you again there. Now, yesterday we left it, the 64th Stadium Rally, and what you'd... and we were talking about basically what you claim to have heard being said. I'm not going to go through all that again, but you said at one point that Mr. Ruto had said 2 or 3 Kalenjin words. Do you know what those words were?
I can't remember exactly what these words were, but I'm sure, 100% sure I said those words.
All right. So there were some words of Kalenjin, but you can't remember what it was. Very well. I noticed, again, when you spoke to the prosecutor back in November last year, that you said there, you described what you heard, and you said he spoke in Swahili, and there's no mention of any Kalenjin being spoken.
Yes, I didn't mention that to the prosecutor.
In any event, you can't remember what it was. It wasn't anything that struck you or you remember. Would that be right?
Repeat?
You've told us you don't remember what he said in Kalenjin, so perhaps we can conclude it wasn't very important, whatever it was. Would that be fair?
Yeah. Yes, it was important.
It was important or it wasn't important?
It is so many years, and I think I remember it was important. It is important. If I can see, only if I can see that, then I'll tell you it's important. It was important.
Well, what was important? Sorry, huh? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What was important about it?
The meaning of those words.
What words were there? You can't remember.
I can't remember, but they were important.
Do you understand Kalenjin? Do you speak Kalenjin? Let's start there. Do you speak Kalenjin?
I only pick 1 or 2 words when they speak.
And the 1 or 2 words you speak, were those the 1 or 2 words Mr. Ruto uttered?
Probably.
All right. Now, in the course of your evidence, when you are answering questions to, when the prosecution were asking you questions, you said for the first time ever that Mr. Ruto had used the word grabbers, and you gave us the Swahili word yesterday that you claim that he used. Now, first of all, do you accept that when you were seated in that chair on Tuesday, that was the first time that you ever used the word for grabbers? It was the first time you ever told anyone that was a word that he had used.
He used that grabbers to refer it to Kikuyu community.
Well, so you tell us that you had 4 or 5 hours with the prosecution last week and 15 hours with them in November of last year. And obviously they were keenly interested, particularly in these words that Ruto, you claim, was saying. But you didn't tell them he used the word grabbers in 20 hours of your conversation. Why was that?
It is because the message I got, and the way I said Ruto used riddles, he could use he could refer any word concerning Kikuyu. He could use any words. He could use he could use any words that came to his mind when he was on a meeting.
Yes.
And one thing, I remember it is 5 years, and it is possible that I could not have crammed everything that was spoken in these meetings.
Well, first of all, of course, we all agree, particularly after 5 years, you're going to forget things, and you're not going to remember everything that was said. But you see, sir, what you've said concerned you, what you've said you remember, and what concerned you, is but a sentence or two, you see. It's not very much to remember. Now, are you saying that when you spoke to the prosecutor in November, and again last week, that you didn't remember that Mr. Ruto had used the Swahili word for grabbers? Is that what you're saying? And that you only remembered when you sat in that chair 2 days ago? Is that the position?
I mean, I remembered when I talked to the prosecution 2 or 3 days ago.
No, I'm saying the first time you ever said it, over 20 hours of interview, you never mentioned it to the prosecutor. That's why it's not in our statements. The first time you ever said he used the word grabbers was on Tuesday, sitting there. You'd never said it before.
Yes, because to the best of my knowledge, I know grabbers and Kikuyu means one thing.
All right.
Counsel,
Yes.
just so the record is clear on one thing. Witness, did you say, everyone, I'm looking at page 6, lines 1 and 2. Did you say you remember it was 5 years ago and it is possible that you could not recount everything, or did you say it is possible that you did not cram everything? What did you say?
I did not cram everything that was said in them.
All right. So the one there that appears recount, I thought I had cram at line 2.
In any event, your account of the words that you say struck you and concerned you, you've changed those words every time you've spoken about them. Do you accept that?
They mean the same. If I mean grabbers and I mean Kikuyu, I mean the same thing.
So we've gone from, for example, as we saw yesterday, we've gone from his saying as you told the prosecution in November, that those people who were not satisfied with the ODM leadership should be put in a pickup, through to Kikuyus, you said, should be put in a pickup, or that he used the word Kikuyus, and that he also used the word grabbers. So what is it amongst these various accounts?
On my account, is maybe at the time, I know you can't understand what was, and the tension what was in Urma, or what it meant when I mean Kikuyus were referred by as grabbers. Let me tell you, during this time of 2007 campaign, Kikuyus, it was like every 40, the rest of 41 tribes in Kenya were against Kikuyu. And the leaders during this campaign, and even the local people like me, where I was, they were all against Kikuyu. So anything they could have said, they said so many things, and anything they could have said against leadership of what what ODM will manifesto of I don't know how to explain, but manifesto of ODM, anything they could say against it meant Kikuyu. So everything they meant, anything bad they mentioned Kikuyu even without mentioning the word Kikuyu.
Right. So are you saying that the ODM was against Kikuyu?
Local people, they were against Kikuyu. And they were 100% sure that Kikuyu will never win in that election.
It's just from what you said. Are you saying that it was ODM who were against Kikuyu?
Of course, yes.
Now, we've heard in this trial with an earlier witness, and I'm not going to go through it in detail here, but there was a significant body or number of officers of the ODM group, party, who were Kikuyu. That's right, isn't it?
That's right.
I have a list here of various names, both nationally and locally. I'm not going to take up time going through that. We've heard of it before. And Kikuyu are well represented amongst in the political structure of ODM. That's right, isn't it?
That's right.
And yet you say ODM was against Kikuyu.
Yes, at this, where I was in Eldoret, especially in Eldoret as a whole, all the area I was, I am 100% sure they were against Kikuyu. I can't talk about the whole country, but I'm talking especially where I was, and that is in Eldoret.
Now, this word grabbers that you referred to, did you ever hear Raila Odinga use that word?
Of course. Of course, they used it, and even if they used it, it means the same thing. It means Kikuyu. They referred grabbers as Kikuyu.
Now, you say that you were very upset with Ruto's statements, and so you left before the end of the speech, and also because the crowd became agitated. Did you leave alone when you left the stadium?
There were other people, but I think we were 2 or 3, but after a short bit distance I went alone.
Well, that's what I'm coming to. Did these workmates of yours, did they go with you? Did they leave with you?
I can't remember whether they followed me because we were
All right.
bit agitated, but we came out of the stadium together.
Okay. Council, let's be careful. Okay.
We're in open session. It's all right. You've not said anything that's identifying to yourself, so don't worry about that.
Not yet. Not yet. I'm saying, let's exactly.
Just for the transcript, page 8, line 24, I believe the word missing is country. I can't talk about the whole of the country.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, this phrase 41 against 1 relates to the fact that there are 42 tribes identified generally in Kenya. Is that right?
Correct.
And in 2005, there was a referendum. The referendum sought to change the constitution. Is that right?
That's correct.
And people had wanted a change of constitution for a long time. Or a large number of Kenyans had wanted a change of constitution. Is that right?
Yes.
And essentially what the change was to be was that the state was to be decentralized, that the power and control of resources that was based in Nairobi could be diffused throughout the country, and that each province could benefit by that system. Essentially, is that correct?
According to me, I knew that constitution was politicized, and there were people understood the word majimbo, that when they wanted to change constitution, they wanted Kenya to be a majimbo state. And the way I understood it, and most of the people, local people, understood this change, they understood that if we came to majimbo, it means every tribe should go back to its where it was originated. That is to say, Kalenjin will remain in Rift Valley, Luo will go to Nyanza, every tribe, Mukamba will go to Ukambani. That is how local people understood that majimbo to be.
Well, that may have been your take of it, but this question of a changed constitution had been something that President Kibaki had promised that he would do. And in 2005, there was a referendum on a change of constitution. But many people in Kenya saw it as a constitution that had been so fiddled with by Kibaki that it didn't really change things. That was the problem, wasn't it? And they voted no. They said, no, we don't want this kind of change. We want a better change. Essentially, that was the problem in 2005, wasn't it?
Yes, the constitution was rejected. And if I can give you a reason why it was rejected, according to myself, according to me, it was rejected because it was supported. Yes, it was supported by mostly PNU. And that is, when I say PNU, I mean it was supported by Kikuyu. And when it was politicized, the other group, that is, because in Kenya, they believe in loyal leaders. So, because Raila Odinga, Ruto, and Ngilu and the rest belongs to other tribes, so local people, local Mwananchi, these other 42 tribes have come together, and only Kikuyu tribe is the one who is supporting this constitution. So they reject it on those grounds, but not because the constitution was bad.
Would it not be fairer to say that 41 tribes were against Kibaki's idea of the changed constitution, and that those 41 also included some Kikuyus who themselves were against the change that Kibaki was proposing? Wouldn't that be fair? Do you understand the question? Did you? Yeah.
Repeat.
Certainly. Well, I'll perhaps reformulate it and make it, I hope, a bit clearer. In the referendum, the vast majority of Kenyans, the 41 tribes, if you like, voted no to Kibaki's suggested change of constitution. Those who voted yes were largely Kikuyu. Is that right?
Those who voted yes, they were largely Kikuyu.
But there were also Kikuyu who voted no.
I can't deny that.
For example, your president today, Uhuru Kenyatta, he voted no, didn't he?
I don't know how he voted.
Oh, I should think nearly everyone in Kenya would know which way he voted.
Council, that's overruled.
Very well. You don't know that Uhuru Kenyatta voted no, said no to Kibaki?
I don't.
Now, this 41-1 really came from that time, from the 2005 referendum. Is that right? That's where that phrase came from 2005.
Oh, they have been there. All the tribes have been there in Kenya.
But this phrase of 41 against 1, it came about because many people, it's a popular saying, saw that the only people in Kenya who voted yes for the constitution were some of the Kikuyu. That's right, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
And in 2007, amongst the 41 tribes, it was, and is generally correct to believe, that at least 6 of them voted PNU, i.e. for Kibaki. The Meru, for example. That's right, isn't it? Would you agree?
I agree.
The Embu? Mberi,
I agree.
Kamba,
I agree.
and Kisi. So it's not 41 against 1, is it? All right.
I am speaking about where I was, the place I was. So if you tell me about Ukambani and the rest, I don't know how they spoke, they use this. But I am speaking about Eldoret. That is where I was, and that's how the people were speaking in that area.
All right, thank you very much. Can I just help with some spelling in respect of those tribes? Was it okay if they come out? Does it need spelling? Right, okay. We've got the Meru, M-E-R-U, the Embu, E-M-B-U, Mberi, M-B-E-R-E, Kamba, K-M-B-A, Tharaka, T-H-A-R-A-K-A, and the Kisi, K-I-S-I-I.
And I don't know if Council's also going to correct the transcripts, but I see on page 11 there are some missing words. The line 18 seems to be, well, I recall hearing they believe in loyal leaders, and I believe the name after Ruto in line 19 was in Giru.
Yes, we can't remember. All right, so Kikiyus in some description or other being put in the back of a pickup and sent back to Central. These are the words that you complain about. And that was quite a shocking thing to say, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we've heard how the media and national television were there that day. Did you ever see any reference to those shocking words in any television broadcast, radio broadcast, or national newspaper?
As far as I know, they could not have reported those words. They could have not reported.
So are you saying it was not reported?
Yeah. And I say it was not reported because in every meetings, maybe political rally, they don't report the whole word that was talked in that rally, but they pick areas that they find it suitable to inform the public.
Well, are you saying if something that was shocking was said like that, that it wouldn't be reported?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes.
Why wouldn't it be reported?
I'll give you my view. It wasn't reported because it was somehow like a secret.
But you told us this rally was cram-packed with tens of thousands of people, including Kikuyu, where there were police there too, weren't there?
The police? Yeah, I think they were present.
Kikuyus there.
Huh?
Kikuyus were there.
Kikuyu's police or...
Well, Kikuyus generally, as we know. You and your friends, for example, were there.
Oh, they know. Maybe can you repeat your question? Or
I don't need to. I think we covered that earlier. And the PNU, they would have been very happy to have made a lot of fuss about something like that if it had been said, wouldn't they?
They will not be happy.
If that had been said,
Yes.
the opposing parties would have been all over it, wouldn't they?
Us? Yes.
Yes.
Counsel, can you rephrase without putting the word all over it?
All right. If that or something like it had been said at the rally, it would have received considerable attention from the opposing parties, from Kibaki's party, wouldn't it?
Those people who were there could. Or let me answer this way. You say that if something of that sort could have been mentioned, Kibaki's political, let me call them politicians, those who are on Kibaki's side could, what do I say, could oppose it publicly. Is that what you mean?
Well, they would have said, look what this man's saying, voters of Kenya. Look what this man's saying. Kikuyus, listen to what he's saying. You can't possibly vote for this man. He's going to put you in the back of a pickup and send you back to Central.
Yes, of course.
Of course, you say.
Yes, he said when he said this, that only that word Kikuyu will be put on a pickup and taken to Central. It spread in Eldoret town. By the following day, even a 5-year-old child could tell you what Ruto had said.
Well, so you say. But not a breath of that in any press report, television report, radio report, no complaint by the PNU, no complaint by any Kikuyus to any authority.
I told you, to the best of my knowledge, they could have not reported that because it was in a secret way. It was in a code, let me say that.
In a secret way, at a huge public rally.
Yeah, we do know, maybe I know you do not understand
Counsel,
Kenyan politician.
It looks like the thing is now getting into an argument with the witness. So
Yes,
we
sir.
have to move on.
Yes, I'm moving on. Now, I'm going to show you some videos.
Yes.
They are of ODM rallies held in Eldoret in 2007. And you will see them and you can help me as we go along, identify places, people, perhaps even that hat you spoke about.
Yes.
And we can see the size and nature of these rallies. And there's 3 rallies that we're going to look at. We'll deal with them in the order in which they took place. And having gone through all of them, I will then have a question to ask you. Now, the first rally that we're going to show you will show you a video, just one video. And this is a rally that took place, or it's our case that it took place, on the 19th of August of 2007. I see you're making a note, and please do, because it will assist you as we go through these things. So this first rally, 19th of August 2007,
Yes.
ODM rally. All right?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is we'll play that, and you can, of course, understand it. For those of us who don't speak Swahili or any other language that might be used, Nandi or whatever, there is in fact a transcript at tab 2, which is KEN D09 0023 0005. The duration of this video is quite short. It's just over 3 minutes. And it is, I hope, fairly self-explanatory. And I think that we'll be seeing on it various people, including Raila Odinga, and, in fact, Mr. Ruto. And the video itself is D09 0023 0004. And it hasn't been played before, so this is the first time you, the judges, too, will be seeing it. And we're operating from this side, so hopefully all will go well.
So you are giving the thing a trial run, the new system?
And all eyes were on the 5 presidential aspirants of ODM after word went round that they were all set to unveil their lineup. Arrivals were characterized by these dramatic scenes.
I believe the witness is saying something.
I can't say anything.
I should, of course, add that this is a public document, too. So I assume it'd be going up.
Thought officer, what's happening?
Perhaps the court can do it if it's...
we will not lose hope with the experiment we started. We will try it again, but for now, the court officers will try and play the video from their own station. During break, they will again go through the system to make sure that parties can play their videos and everyone will see it at the same time.
Yes.
So they will try.
And
Okay.
shall I repeat the video that we want, or I think the registry have it? Do you need the number again? No, thank you very much.
The witness said he's got the feed.
And arrivals were characterized by these dramatic scenes. 64 Stadium in Stadium in Eldoret. And all eyes were on the 5 presidential aspirants of ODM after word went round that they were all set to unveil their lineup. Arrivals were characterized by these dramatic scenes. Then the skies opened up, a heavy downpour just before the leaders addressed the gathering, as if to symbolize the tough battle ahead, the unpredictable political terrain, and the test of unity ODM is facing. After the rain came the promise, a promise to remain united and support whoever will be picked as the party's torchbearer. So, one by one, the Big Five came up to show their faces in the rally attended by 58 legislators.
We do not want any more confusion. Sasa leo tunasema uchaguzi mkuu ujao. The coming general election is going to be between the people who believe this country belongs to a few and those of us who believe this country belongs to all of us. Nasema hivyo kwa sababu nataka tujiulize, can ODM afford another dislocation? Can it afford another dislocation? Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema collectively we are going to work together and we are going to be together and we are going up to the end. Jumanne wiki hii kule Nairobi tarehe 14 Mfalme Solomon alifanya uamuzi. Akasema wenye ODM ndio ni hawa. Na akachukua mtoto akapatia wenye mtoto, sio? Hiyo ndio ni ODM original.
So Eldoret was the ground for the relaunch of ODM original, and they say they'll face the next election as a package. But the real test of the unity of that package lies in the nomination process of the presidential flag bearer and the aftermath of that process. From Eldoret, this is Alex Chamwada for KTN Weekend Prime.
Right, thank you. So, at the beginning of that clip, we could hear the reporter voiceovers announcing, on behalf of KTN Weekend Prime, that they were at the 64 Stadium in Eldoret. And you can confirm, can you, that that was, in fact, the 64 Stadium in Eldoret? Can you confirm that, sir?
Yeah, it was in Eldoret.
Right. 64 Stadium.
Yes.
and we could hear the English that was spoken. I have the benefit of the transcript here, and perhaps I can read in the translation that I have. And after the reporter has spoken, and all he says is in English, and he ends by saying, so one by one, the Big Five came up to show their faces in the rally attended by 58 legislators. And then we saw Mr. Ruto, and he was saying, we do not want any more confusion. And then he spoke in Swahili. He said, saying today, I'll read it all, we do not want any more confusion. Today we are saying the coming general elections is going to be between the people who believe this country belongs to a few and those of us who believe this country belongs to all of us. And after that we saw Musalia Mudavadi, and he was saying, and he spoke in both English and in Swahili, but taken together he said, I'm saying this because I would like us to ask ourselves, can ODM afford another dislocation? Can it afford another dislocation? So we are saying that collectively we are going to work together, and we are going to be together, and we are going up to the end. And then we saw Raila Odinga, and he said, and again I translate, on Tuesday this week, there in Nairobi, on the 14th, King Solomon made a decision and said, these are the owners of ODM. He took the baby and gave it to its rightful owners, isn't he? That is the original ODM. And then the reporter concludes by saying that Eldoret, the scene we saw, was the ground for the relaunch of ODM Original. So that was the beginning, that was the launch for ODM for the election of 2007. And the words I've read, does that, the translation that I read out, does that fit in with what you heard?
There is maybe one thing I wonder.
What's that? Perhaps you can tell us.
As you said, he said Kenya does not belong to few. Maybe something of that it belongs to all of us. I wonder who are these few? Who are these few whom he was referring there?
Yeah.
I wonder who are they? Because Kenya belongs to everybody.
A witness, okay. That's not what the lawyer is asking you now. He's not asking us to get into a discussion of what was meant by the speaker as you saw on the video. That is not the exercise. What he's asking you is whether you agree that the translation he read back roughly is consistent with what you heard on the video.
Yeah.
Very well. And it was the relaunch of ODM. It was the first major rally for ODM in the 2007 election run. Is that right?
Yes.
And I don't know if you confirm that you saw in that clip a man called Henry Koski. Did you see him?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
He's a Kalenjin, of course. And then we had Najib Balala. Do you know what ethnicity he has? He's from Coast, I know. Do you know, is he a member of any particular ethnic group?
I know he's from Coast, but I don't know his ethnic group.
Right. Raila Odinga, of course. who, of course, we know is Luo.
Yes.
Is that right? Joe, is it Niagara? Niagara, where does he come from?
He comes from Central.
And then we saw Mr. Ruto, of course. Mr. Mudavadi, and what group is he?
He comes from Western.
There was no Charity Ngulu there, was there? She wasn't there. Well, she wasn't on the film.
She was not there. She was there.
Not there, I suggest. She hadn't yet moved from where she was into ODM. That came a bit later. Doesn't matter. It's a negative, and I understand the problem. And we saw a hat. I mean, Mr. Odinga was wearing a hat, wasn't he?
Yes.
We'll come back to hats.
Yes.
All right. Now, in terms of the date, we have some newspapers from the next day which help us anchor the date firmly, because we didn't hear the date, of course, in the tape, and for legal reasons we want to be firm about the date. So that's the reason that we're going to ask for DO9 0023 0012 to be put up on the screen, please. This one will do, just the one. Oh, we'll do the other ones as well. All right, so is that up on the screen? Here it is. And we'll see that it's a copy of the Daily Nation, a much respected paper in Kenya. It's dated, we can see at the top, Monday, August the 20th, 2007. It's a public document. And if we look at the report, we can see right at the beginning in the first paragraph, it reads, Orange Democratic Movement leaders held their first public rally yesterday since the split with Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka and put up a show of unity. So there we have it, their first public rally yesterday. And we see, if we look down, Eldoret North MP, the host of the rally, that's William Ruto, is the first to take the vow. And then we have Najib Balala, Joseph Nyaga, Musalia Mudavadi, and lastly, Mr. Raila Odinga.
Council, once Mr. Nyaga, is he also featured as a member of the Pentagon? I don't recall that.
Yes.
What's his ethnicity?
He's Meru.
All right, thanks.
Sorry. Excuse me. In fact, I'm corrected. He's in Beri, which is, as it were, more central than Meru, if I can put it like that. But there we are. I'm just leaving this under the photograph, and we can see Mr. Ruto there. You recognise that hat, I take it? Do you recognise the hat?
Yes.
Secret hat? Well, you laugh, but that's where it was yesterday.
Council,
I'm sorry. Right. And he's holding, we see a clutch of microphones there, and I merely mentioned that obviously relates, what we call the strawberry, raspberry and peach there, relates to the colours. And we see that in the video itself. And we saw the numbers, the huge numbers that attend these rallies. And we can see in front of Mr. Ruto, apart from the 3 microphones he's holding, there's another half a dozen or so, more than that perhaps, national television, all the stations there, radios, and the crowd stretching out as far as one can see. And in the distance, we can see that though there's no seats, there's a raised area all the way around the stadium for spectators, obviously, to watch matches or whatever. So there we have it. That's, I think we have another newspaper dealing with that. And I asked for that to go up. That's DO900230013. Where's the other front page of that? In fact, can I just pause there a moment? I've got the sequence wrong. Can I have the sequence another way? Can we instead show first the front page and then come to here's the second page? So DO900230011 is the first page of the Standard newspaper.
So they're not the same newspaper. It's not.
We were setting aside the first Nation newspaper, and now we're looking at the Standard, but there's 2 pages from the Standard. So we'll start with the front page. And we see there the Standard and its banner, and underneath the banner, Monday, August the 20th, 2007. And there on its front page and its main story, under the headline, Defining Moment, Inaugural Rally. New look, ODM holds its first public rally, and Raila, Ruto and Musalia lead team in declaring no turning back. And we can see in that photograph there the large crowd. Looking at these crowds, they're mainly men, aren't they? You don't get many women at these rallies, is that right?
Yes.
There are some women there, but not many. You can see one, in fact. Maybe she's a member of the press. And we can see the press there, and their cameras, or some of them. And we see then a photograph at the bottom with the 5 Pentagon members, as they came to be known. The 5 key players in the ODM movement. And we can see that the journalists write up to the left column, Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, began what it described as its grand march to State House with a bold, no-turning-back message that reverberated across Eldoret's 64 stadium.
Mr. President, I'm wondering if at some point there will be a question to the witness, because it looks like counsel's testifying now. I think the article speaks for itself. If it's going to go on the record, it should. If not, there should be a question at some point.
Well, I'm bringing to my friend's attention, and more perhaps significantly the witnesses, and of course to you, Your Honours, those relevant parts of the page that need to be considered in the context of this evidence. And it's important in my submission that evidence is seen in context.
What Mr. Moffat is asking is, isn't this better done by way of question and answer to the witness?
Very well. I'll try and endeavour to do that. Well, what I've said is right. Is that you follow what I've been saying? You don't disagree with what I've formulated so far from this paper? What I've
I think you've said a lot. Maybe we should take it in stages.
Very well. Well, here's a standard newspaper relating to a ODM inaugural rally on August the 19th, 2007, at Eldoret 64 Stadium. And on this material, Mr. Witness, do you accept that there was a rally of that kind at the 64 Stadium on the 19th of August, 2007?
Correct.
Correct. And do you agree that on the photograph we can see, as I've described, a largely male audience with a large media contingent at the foot, it would appear, of the podium on which the speakers addressed the crowd?
Yes.
And at the bottom we have a picture of the 5 leading members of the Orange Democratic movement.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And if we now move to the second page of that document, that newspaper, page 2, that's DO9 0023 0013.
It's at tab 6.
Which is at tab 6. Thank you, Your Honour. Now, I'm not going to read all this out, but if we look down column 1, about halfway down, we see a reference to Charity Ngulu. And it says, Health Minister Mrs. Charity Ngulu appeared to push for a new Canberra unity, even as the new ODM front took shape. See separate stories. And that's because she's not yet in the ODM. That's right, isn't it? She was still in another group at that time. Is that right?
Yes.
And then we see in the third column Mr. Ruto is referred to, and I'll read what it says about him and what he said. Raila said the 64 Stadium meeting was aimed at drawing the line. Oh, I'm sorry, Ruto. I'm reading relation to Mr. Ruto, sorry. Ruto said the 64 Stadium meeting was aimed at drawing the line that would decide the future of the country ahead of the December elections. We do not want any more confusion in the party. This is the defining moment. And we are now prepared to meet President Kibaki, retired President Moi, Mr. Simeon Nyache, among others, against the ODM, and others against the ODM team, Ruto said. This is a defining moment for Kenyans to know. Well, that's someone else speaking, Balala. And it goes on, though, to say this. He said, this is Balala said, the decision on who the ODM flag bearer would be had been concluded at the meeting of elders, and that September the 1st would merely rubber stamp the choice. So just pausing there. At this meeting in August, which is the relaunch of the ODM, they hadn't yet chosen who was going to be the standard bearer. That is, who was going to be the presidential nominee on behalf of the ODM. Is that right?
Yes.
Spelling the Archie, N-Y-A-C-H-A-E. All right. So there we have, I think, all the material that I want you to look at this stage in relation to this opening rally, the relaunch of ODM 2007 at the 64 Stadium, 19th of August. Now, you, of course, weren't at that meeting, were you?
I didn't get your question.
Yeah, I've shown you all that, but we know that you yourself, you weren't there. You weren't there in August. You didn't attend that rally, did you?
No, I don't. I didn't there.
No. Did you hear anything about what was said there, or not?
Did you understand the question?
He asked me whether I heard anything, what was said there.
Counsel, you might want to rephrase so that there's a distinction between hearing what was said on the video he watched or hearing what was said after the rally real time at the time.
Yes, I'm talking back then in 2007, in August. Big rally in your town of Eldoret. Can you remember what was being said about it at the time?
At the time?
Witness, you have to not shake your head or not, because the transcript would not recognize that. You have to say something. If he asks you a question, you have to say yes, not even yeah. You have to say yes or no. And just don't shake your head or nod it. Thank you.
Sure.
Now, in the course of that video, we saw a hat. Was this the hat? Or
Before the hat comes in, I think the answer, the witness's response to the earlier question ought to be reflected in the transcript. I think he said no. Perhaps
he did shake his head. Counsel, can you take the question again?
Yeah, sure. Yes, the question was to the effect of, at the time, back in 2007, when this rally had taken place, did you at the time hear anything about the rally? And you'd said, I think, did you hear anything about that rally?
But I remember I had all them were coming, but I didn't hear. Let me say I didn't. Let me not add on that.
Right, now in the course of that video, we saw Mr. Ruto wearing a hat similar to this one. Is that right?
Yes.
And what do you recognize are the symbols on this hat?
It's Kenyan flag.
So it's what I'd call a baseball hat, or you can all see what it is, but for the transcript.
Transcript watch, counsel, you have to help do that.
This is something that I'd call a baseball hat. It's got the Kenyan symbol, coat of arms, as we call it. Its symbol, national symbol, on the front. And it's composed of the particular greens and reds, and black and white.
Correct.
Constitutes the Kenyan flag. That's
Correct.
right, isn't it? And it's a very nice hat, isn't it? No, can't raise any objection to this hat, can you?
Correct, it's correct.
If there is a correction to the transcript, let me know where it needs to be.
Line 4.
Line 4. Oh, yes. The answer at line 4 should read Kenyan flag. Thank you. Now, we've got just under 10 minutes to go before our break. I'm going to ask that we see another video and hope that we can surmount any difficulties. The number of the video that I'd like played is DO90023 0018, and for the benefit of you, Mr. Witness, it's again a short video of an ODM rally. This one taking place, we say, on November the 10th, 2007.
Raila was touring the North Rift region for the first...
Just a moment. Thank you. It was a bit too quick that time. I'm grateful that it's up and running there. November the 10th, 2007, again at the 64 Stadium. And this video is from national television. And tab 8, for your honours and my friends, has the relevant translation. So if that can be played, thank you.
Raila was touring the North Rift region for the first time since his nomination to lead the ODM race to the House on the Hill. Accompanied by the immediate former Eldoret North MP, William Ruto, Raila's convoy made its way through Eldoret town with supporters in tow. Here, it was clearly an orange day. At the 64 Stadium in Eldoret, it was not going to be easy for those who wanted to make a quick buck. Here, Raila was holding party aspirants to their word, be faithful to the party.
Mchujo kufanywa, yule ambaye atashindwa ataunga mkono yule ambaye atashinda.
At a time when opinion polls show Kibaki to be closing in on Raila, the team here was oozing with confidence.
Nataka tuwe na ushindi wa Raila. Na kwa kimombo tunasema, we don't want a simple majority. We want a convincing majority.
But it was not lost on their minds that Kibaki was launching his petty manifesto and they were challenging his re-election bid.
Kabla hujatuuliza nafasi ya miaka mitano, tunauliza ni miujiza gani utafanya kwa miaka mitano unayouliza ambayo ulishindwa kufanya kwa miaka 35.
Yeah, Ngilu told of broken promises.
Alitumia sisi zote, akasimama kwa bega ya Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, ya Mheshimiwa Ngilu, ya Mheshimiwa Wamalwa, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo, wale wote alitumia bega zao ili aende huko juu, aliwatupa.
Tunapigana Mount Elgon, tunapigana kule Tana River, tunapigana kule Kurisoi, Kuna majimbo huko? Kuna majimbo huko?
The team now moves to Western Kenya beginning tomorrow and will later in the week launch the ODM Party Manifesto, a day after Raila hands in his presidential nomination papers to the Electoral Commission of Kenya. Sarah Kimani, NTV, Weekend Edition, Eldoret.
Right, now before we come to go any further, I'm wondering if I can have some exhibit numbers for the material that's been put in this morning's session. And then we can come back after the break perhaps and carry on with where we are. So the first exhibits that we'd like there's 13 that have been referred to this morning. That's going to take a bit of time. I'm wondering if perhaps that could be sorted out during the break, or do you have numbers ready? You have numbers ready. So do you want me to nominate the particular items? All right. The first one, I'll just use the last letter, 0044.
Well, only if numbers have already been gotten ready. The prosecution does have a view.
I was going to, before we shouldn't skip these things. Would there be any objections, of course, before we start giving numbers?
There will be objections to some of the material.
So why don't we take it then one at a time? Counsel, you raise the one you want to go in.
Right, the first
and
one.
We take them seriously.
Right, very well. And the first one is the video of 19th of August, 64 Stadium, 00230044.
Okay, I believe this is the 19th August video. Yes, it was shown to the witness. He doesn't say he was there. There's no suggestion that the witness was there at that particular rally. At the very best, it could be marked for identification, but we don't think an exhibit number ought to be assigned to this.
Well, I'd submit the appropriate thing here is to give it a number. It's got prima facie authenticity. You can see the nature of the video and its source. It doesn't mean that the prosecution can't, in the future, if something turns up in respect of it, raise that matter. But it places things in a proper context in terms of the transcript. And in a few or several months down the line, it's quite significant to have a given exhibit number in a sequential order.
Wait a minute, Counsel. Yes. Prosecutor, did the witness not say that the video did depict 64 Stadium?
Yes, and which is why we agree with it being marked for identification. But precisely the opposite of what Mr. Hooper says is what I say. If down the line a witness is likely to come forward to actually say, yes, I was present during this rally, then that's the time this ought to be assigned an exhibit number. For the time being, it's been shown to the witness. Certain aspects of it have been identified. We could mark it for identification. The other thing that I note is
But what I'm saying is the witness does in the video identify the 64 Stadium.
In fact, he does more than that. He identifies individuals in the video. My submission is that is not sufficient for it to be assigned an exhibit number.
No, can I just I hope help that?
The video will be admitted into evidence and assigned an identification number. An exhibit number.
The video material number Ken D090023 0004 public will be assigned an EVD number, EVD T D09000073, and it can be called alternatively as Ruto Defense Exhibit Number 73.
Mr. Hooper, and we need to stop now and
Yes.
take it up again when we, rather continue with the exercise when we return at 11:30.
Yes, very well. Well, all I can say is I think my friend can see the particular items that the defence are going to seek to be admitted, which will include the hat. So that's altogether it's what it is. So I don't know if when we come back, my friend can perhaps be prepared to deal with any objections.
If you also want to discuss with them in the meantime, so that we don't get into standard debates. Yeah, right.
I agree.
I must say something, though. I hope you'll be prepared to deal with it at some point. On the last video that is shown, you've not addressed it with any question and answer. But you will, of course, explain what the symbolism of the hammer is doing at the rally. There's some large-size symbols, I take it, of hammers.
Yes, yes.
So we want to know what that video that means and what
Indeed,
it is doing.
I understand.
Thanks.
Yes.
We will bring down the blinds and let the witness out, and then we'll take our break.